Alrighty guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Tom, you're watching Motorculture Australia, and today we've got something really special. It's a 2017 Ford Focus RS, and this car has what is almost an entirely new motor. It's pushing a lot of power, so we're going to get straight into the video and go for a drive. Alright Sam, so you've pretty much had this motor taken out and completely done and put it back in. So tell us a little bit about what modifications specifically, the big ticket items that you've had done to the car.
Yeah, sure. Well Tom, I replaced the engine. The other one hadn't blown up. I decided I wanted to push more power through it.
Yep.
The stock bottom end would probably not take much more than 400 or thereabouts. So what I've done is I bought a short block, a untuned short block, which is forged and sleeved, and pulled out the stock engine, sold that entirely, and replaced it with a brand new one. And with that, I've now been able to really kind of stretch the legs of the auxiliary fuel and the water methanol. It now pushes, again, up around that 500 horsepower to the wheels type.
Yeah, so there's not many Focus RSs out there with whole new motors, different motors completely that have been built from the ground up essentially. So it's a very unique car, as you can see. Now let's jump around to the back, and there's a few cool things around there as well to have a look at. Alrighty guys, so we're around to the rear of the car now. So there's two things we want to talk about while we're here, is the exhaust, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the interior and what it's like to have bucket seats as a daily driver. So Sam, the exhaust, we get a lot of people asking what exhaust is done and who did it, all that sort of stuff. So can you tell us exactly what's been done and who did it for you?
Sure. Tom, I took mine to a place called Max Auto in Enoggera. They have a really good reputation for doing great top exhaust systems for a lot of cars. They hadn't done a Mark III RS, so this was the first one they'd done, and I think they really nailed it. It's a straight mandrel bend 3-inch system back from a 100 cell cat into a Hurricane muffler. It was a sports muffler, which is significantly reduced in size. And I used the stock valve system, and these are custom 4.5-inch tips on both sides, the black straight cuts. Yep. So that system has been on the car since pretty early days. Yep. And I would do it again in a heartbeat. A lot of these systems cost thousands off the shelf, and I think that the result in this car is fantastic. It really sounds
perfect. So as you mentioned, you got to retain the functionality of having the valves where you can open and close them for that variation in noise level. And you said the guys, they're a custom fabrication shop, so they can pretty much pull something together for any car really. So
yeah, they've done a few Mark IIIs now, because I've been talking about this on the car. They've had a few go through, and the owners all seem pretty happy with the systems. They can resonate or non-resonate. It's up to you entirely. So it's like tuning for an exhaust system really. So I took it back to them a couple of times just to have things checked over. They're great. Yeah, we might have to go check it out, I think. But tell us a little bit about the interior, Sam. Sure. So you've got, obviously you've got, bucket seats, and you drive this car daily at the moment. So how is that? Is there drawbacks of having, seats that are so tight? When we were driving there, it is pretty comfortable. You don't really notice if you're just cruising along, but I guess if you're going through the city, it might be a different story entirirely. Well, I think when you're in the seats, Tom, they're fine. I mean, they're far more comfortable than the old SC seats I had before. They were terrible. They were really bad. These I've had, on long drives, I've had no issues with at all. The only real issue with this that anyone's owned one of these cars knows is that it does suffer from a belt bolster wear on one side of the seat there when you're getting in and out, because it's quite a long way in and a long way out over the bolsters.
I did notice that. Yeah, you sort of got to lift your leg up and over that. What's your favourite part about the interior? Obviously, the infotainment in these cars is it's quite updated. There's a lot of cool features in there, but what is your favourite if you had to put your finger on one thing?
Well, the interior itself, I think probably the fact that it's got CarPlay is great. The interior is not spectacular in these cars. It is a focus. It's a focus car. It's a focus platform.
Yep.
So you don't get the interior quality finish you would get in a Mercedes or in an Audi, for example. But it's really good. I mean, everything works. Everything where it's supposed to be. Nothing's out of place. There's no drawbacks or issues that I have with it. I actually quite like it. For what it is, it's perfectly comfortable. But I think having CarPlay coming out standard is great. It just makes things a lot easier. A lot of other systems, like I know the Civic Type R has its own unique system from Honda, which, take it or leave it.
Yeah, exactly right. All right, guys. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to get in the car and go for a drive now, and this is going to be really exciting. So stay tuned for that. This is going to be the best part. Right, we'll jump straight into it. Sam, can you tell us what your favourite thing about the car is?
Oh, I'd say the favourite thing about the Focus RS is definitely the way it goes around corners. I think that's probably the reason why most people really delight in this car. And it's obviously got a glorious amount of power, and once you tune it, it does work very well as a driving platform for daily use, like I use mine. But certainly, when you take the car on a spirited drive around corners, it just comes alive. It's a fantastic platform. Really great car.
And how much power does your car have now?
Well, I haven't had a dynoed, but similar cars with the same modifications would be putting down between 500 and 520 at the wheels, horsepower.
Amazing. So you daily drive a 500 horsepower Focus RS.
It's a bit ridiculous.
How good is that?
Yeah, I should probably get myself a little banger rather than driving this thing around all the time, but there you go.
Yeah, so to talk about the handling again, you said that's your favourite part. Is this on stock suspension, or have you done a little bit of work to that as well?
A little bit of work, just lowering springs and sway bars front and back. That's pretty much it.
Yep.
Strut tower braces, which I don't make too much difference, but certainly stiffen the chassis up a little bit more as well. So, but that's really it.
Yeah. So as you said, they've got a really good base platform for a driving experience there. So obviously Ford, you'd agree that they've sort of nailed the handling of the car, that aspect of it?
Oh, I think that's probably the thing that everyone remarks on, whether they're a fan of the platform or not. When they drive it or get in the car with me, they're always stunned by how well it performs around corners, how short-footed it is. Yeah. And combine it with the all-wheel drive system, it's quite remarkable how much confidence it inspires in you when you're driving it. Yeah. It's quite incredible. Yeah. You can really push it to the ragged edge, and it just feels like the car wants you to do more.
Yeah. It gets dangerous at some point though, doesn't it? But you've got to keep it reasonable.
Yeah, well, people have been these cars before, clearly, but it does take quite a bit to get it out of shape, and even if you were to get it out of shape, it recovers like all-wheel drive cars do. They just tend to kind of just point back in a straight line very quickly.
Modifications you've done to the engine that are unique or that you want to specifically touch on?
Yeah, well, I suppose I've done pretty much everything I can do to this car for the moment, and there's other things I could do, but I've replaced the stock bottom end with a forged bottom end from Mount Tune, which is sleeved as well for just additional reliability. It's running on fully 85s through an auxiliary fuel rail, which is installed. I've got a water methanol kit installed as well. I was just saying offline that water methanol, I'm a huge fan of it. Everyone who knows me, I'll bang on about water methanol all the time, but certainly I think it's probably one of the best gifts you could ever give to a direct injected turbocharged engine. It just provides that enormous lift in octane in the head, which just basically reduces the chance of detonation, which is a risk with this car, down to almost zero. So, and it keeps the heads clear, it keeps the charge cool, it keeps the cylinders and the valves clean as well. So it's a really good modification to do on this type of car.
So you get the best of both worlds, really. You sort of incorporate that safety and making the motor a little bit more healthy, but you also get a pickup in the power as well.
You certainly do. I mean, you're creating with all these modifications, you're creating headroom to really tune it to tune the car out to put more power reliably. So obviously ethanol gives you the ability to be able to burn cooler, so you can tune, you can advance timing, and you can put in more boost without overheating the engine. With water methanol, you can do the same thing because you've got a much cooler charge, so you've got temperatures that are much less in the head and so forth. So it's all been done for a reason. I researched everything I did with this car before I did it, well and truly in advance. So there's not much I've done on this car I wouldn't do again.
Yeah.
And there's certainly nothing on this car that I would probably have done any differently, to be honest.
That picks up and carries pretty hard.
Yeah, it's got an X2 turbo on it, so it's been upgraded to Precision X2. So the stock turbo is pretty capable, and it's obviously designed as quite a small turbo, so it's designed for low down torque, which it certainly does provide. But the bigger turbo does give it a much bigger bite at the top end, so it just keeps pulling and pulling and pulling.
Well, that's actually what I was going to say there, is the gears feel very extended. They pull for a long time before you have to change.
Yeah, they definitely do.
Fairly big rev range. This is one of those cars where you see it coming up behind you in the revision mirror, and you want to pull over, you want to get out of the way. You can almost hear it coming behind you as well, and it looks very aggressive on the front end. It's just got that really aggressive look to it.
What would you say is the 0 to 100 time in this car?
Oh, well, it's as stock, it's supposed to be up to 4.7.
Yeah.
This one, I don't know. You guys guess. We'll do it in a second.
Yeah, we're about to find out. That's neck breaking ability there. Yeah, that's some serious launch power. Even with the manual gearbox, you can definitely feel it when you change. You get a bit of a relief, and then straight back into the seat.
Yeah,
and it's hard too.
It does.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's got a lot going for it now.
It's got a nice feel to it, actually, the gearbox.
It's got, like everything else on the car, I've done something to that too.
Yeah.
So the shifter cables, bushings have been replaced, and the shifter bushings have been replaced.
Okay.
And it's got a short shift plate in it as well. So
because it feels really like firm and confident, and there's no funny play in it, and it's
that's right. Yeah. I mean, listen, the stock transmission is. Gearbox are very good.
Yeah.
So there wasn't much to improve there. I mean, it's not a Civic Type R type box, which is superb, but it's still very reassuring. You don't miss gears.
Yeah.
But this has just tightened it up even further.
And you can put it in 6th there, and it's sort of, there's not too much noise. You can almost put the windows up, and you wouldn't have to worry about getting a headache driving it too far. Yeah.
This isn't the noisy version of the car, so the exhaust is the noisiest, but it's still it's not too bad, as you say, with the windows up and the air conditioning on. It's not too bad, and when you take it to the standard setting for the exhaust, any type of drone you've got disappears completely. So it makes it very comfortable and easy to drive long distances if you need to.
Yeah. And it's surprising actually with these seats, you'd think it'd be, I guess, a bit more rigid, which it is in corners. They hold you very tight, but and that sound too, you can really feel the lag building up too if you just ease into it. I love that feeling. I love that feeling.
I don't see it as being a negative, really. People say, "I don't lag." It's not, you just don't want lag. Well, it's like torque steer. It's a kind of love-hate thing.
Exactly right. It adds to the experience.
It does. It kind of adds a bit more drama and a bit more theatre to the whole experience.
That's it.
There's a torque steer.
There's a little bit of torque steer.
Yeah, there is.
And one thing I do notice is it's very different to a lot of the Euro cars, like the Golfs, for example, where the power's it's a much different delivery. Do you find that do you prefer this where it builds very uniquely? It comes on and it pulls for so long, whereas in a lot of the other Euro cars you've got to be shifting frequently, and you've got to be really on top of the driving.
Yeah, well, I don't have much to base my experience, base my comments on really, because I'd never owned a Golf or a Euro car. Never the Vags in my history.
Yep.
But I certainly see that they're very linear in the delivery. Like an RS3, for example, is really quick, But I think if they build their power and deliver it in a very linear fashion. And this did come looking like that. If you looked at a torque curve or torque and power curve for a factory version of this car, it is very linear.
Yeah.
But with the modifications that I've made to it so far, it does, particularly with the Precision Turbo, it kicks in about 2.5, 3, and then just it goes to redline very fast.
Yeah.
So I like that. I like the fact that it's quite exciting. You kind of have to keep on top of it.
Yep.
And of course, manual gearboxes. I mean, they're on the way out. They're almost a security device these days in modern cars, aren't they? I mean,
That's it.
it's great to have one.
There's definitely less and less people who can actually drive it.
Yeah, that's right.